Okay, so now we are recording. Okay, so let me start again. We're starting PACA 2 here. We're reconstructing after our long summer and our adventures of the summer, which we're very blessed to have the main four, the big four from the summer teams to share with us some of the things that happened and some of the things maybe that didn't happen over the summer. And feel free as we go through to ask questions and so forth. We want to stay, Brooks always wanted us to be pushing the edge, but we still want to respect people and the athletes and the coaches and so on. It's not let's pick on so and so mentality. It's how can we fix things that happened and or maintain things that happened and build on them. And as I said, we I talked with Betsy, and she said that Brooks would want us to continue, and so as long as she gave us the blessing, then I felt good about continuing it. We did have a little bit of format change. As you notice, we're down to 90 minutes instead of the 2 hours. Several people had asked for that, and I am recording it, and we're trying a different platform, I guess is the word. And next week I will have it so that we go back to the registration. So you remember how last year when you logged in, you had to then register, then you got the login. And so we will go back and do that. VJ talked me through that as after I sent out the link. So I'm still trying to figure all of this out in some cases. But again, we are going to record them and make them available, and that's what I'm trying to work through is the availability for people, because that was the big complaint over the last 4 or 5 years that Brooks has been doing this, that it was like, okay, we've got all this fantastic knowledge, but if you weren't there for those specific 2 hours, you missed it. And they were being recorded, but we never saw them. So I'm not sure where they are in the streets, the under the streets of Indianapolis or whatever, but we want to get it so that we can share knowledge and not just keep it closed in. So that's what we're going to be working on. Keep in mind that any suggestions that you have for guests or topics, please let me know either at the end of the call, kind of like what we have been doing, or shoot me an email or DM or whatever scenario you use. I try to use Twitter is probably the one I'm not the best on. So Facebook is probably the best, or Instagram, in addition to just regular email. Because again, the whole concept, and like I say, a lot of you are returning, so I'm not trying to be repetitious, but for those of you that are new, this is a Podium Athletes and Coaches Association. And this was started after the 2016 Olympics, when the coaches that were coaching a lot of our medalists were treated, shall we say, not the best as far as passes and rooms and transportation there in Rio. And of course, I think it was like an hour to the stadium from the village, or it was a long trip. And so this concept Brooks came up with as to podium education. In other words, people that have gotten athletes on the podium, that they're medalists and or that they have worked through over the years, been at the top of the game, that we share. And that, sometimes coaches will share and sometimes they won't. But I know in the past, and this is the part I'm really hoping continues, that when Brooks would give the call out, to my knowledge, pretty much everybody responded in affirmative and was happy to join, or would join us. So hopefully that will continue here as we move forward. So that's kind of the premise as to where we are. And the first group that was requested was our Olympic coaches and our managers. That a lot of times the head managers know all of the inners and outers of the behind the scenes excitement that the public doesn't see. And the head coaches are the ones that their names are out there, good or bad, and we know how that goes. So, when the baton gets around, the team did it, and when the baton doesn't, the coaches did it. So, we will try to, again, work through some situations and see good, bad, and whatever. So, I want to welcome our head coach on the women's side, Latanya Sheffield, and our head men's coach, Stanley Redwine. And Stanley, thank you for rescheduling a meeting here tonight because I really appreciate that. And I know our audience does too. And then our head managers, and again, that's the grunt work behind the scenes. And I don't know if you got to see any of the meet live. I remember when I'd come back, I'd have to watch all the replays because I never saw the meet live. But Danielle Siebert was the head women's manager, and Manny Batista, the head men's. And so, again, thank you guys for joining us. So let's kind of start off. I've got a few questions to kind of get us going, and then as the audience, as you guys feel question coming on, raise your hand or interrupt us or whatever, and let's see how we go with it. So, Latanya, why don't you kind of give us a little bit of a start as to how how you got selected or when you got selected. When were you notified?
Oh, wow. I was notified a bit after the annual meeting.
Which
Yeah.
year?
Um, Gosh, it's been so long.
Was it 23 or 22?
That had to be 23.
So after Worlds is when you were notified.
Right, right,
Okay, so you guys had a year
right.
to
We
prepare.
we
Okay,
we had quite some time to prepare for it, but we had quite some time to hold, if you will, the secret. um,
right, right.
Able to actually announce our positions and selections.
And why is that? Do you want to share as to why there's a delay?
For starters, there is the process of doing the background checks and things of that sort. So there still is the USOPC doing their work. What it is that USA Track and Field has made the nomination and has put forth the person's name. And then once that has happened, they are really just kind of notifying that person that this is what's going on, but we still have work to do for that confirmation, and that's going to come from the USOPC. So
Right.
that part is it. And then we also had some other questionable, just to be honest, some litigation that needed to be worked through. And once that was confirmed, and I'm not going to go into detail about that,
Yeah.
but um, but once that was confirmed, then the announcements were made.
So again, to me, a year to plan Olympics is not enough time, but you felt it was okay.
Well, we actually, as a team, as a staff, didn't have a choice because, again, there were some other underlying things that needed to be worked out.
I see. I see. What would you say was your most memorable moment?
Wow, there's so many, Sue. There really is so many. Gosh. Um, I remember sitting in the stands with Stanley, and I was recording us. I've never put it on social media or not, but he and I, we were sitting in the stands, and this is pretty fairly done with the competitions, and we had just were kind of reminiscing the medal count,
Mm,
and it's really more of the relief that the job had been done. There were also many times where we were working in concert with each other, and I'm saying the staff in general, and just working through things that needed to be handled. That concert of work felt really good at the time, and as I got home and was able to kind of reflect, the athletes are amazing. I feel like they're the athletes with the type of energy, desires, and dreams and all of that of even yesteryear. Nothing had to me has changed on that. People work hard to be an Olympian.
Oh yeah, definitely. Stanley, what would you say was your best memory or best experience?
That is a great question. When you're doing it, you don't really look at it from that perspective. You look at it as, what do I have to do to keep the ball rolling? And then when you get back home, you look back and say, that was fun. So
Mhm.
there wasn't just a moment, and I agree with Latanya that when we looked at each other and we said, wow, you know, and you see how amazing that the athletes are, but it's just all the people. You knew that everyone was giving their all to make Team USA look better. And I think you're talking about Danielle, you talk about Manning. It was just a team of people that put their best efforts together to make the athletes feel good, to make the athletes perform well. And that's what's probably special to me, is that we all gave our all, and it wasn't about any egos. It wasn't about, and even with the athletes, it was about, let's do this for Team USA and let's get it done.
That's great to hear because obviously those of us back home watching, it was like every race was like, oh, okay, another medal, another medal. We kind of got uh, set in a ways of like, oh, 1500, sure, we're going to medal twice, that type of thing. But again, it's a very challenging situation. And this was the highest medal count, wasn't it? What was it, 34 or
Uh, yes, correct me. I believe it was tied for the most ever medal count, highest medal count.
with what, 96, I think, or 92, or
I thought it was, I
back in
thought
the
it
day?
was
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would make sense. Well, Danielle, what would you describe as your typical day in the Olympic Village? I want people to hear, what
Mm.
does a head manager, there's no typical day, number one.
Yeah, that would be my first answer. There's no typical day.
What time would you have to get up?
I mean, we were in like the no sleep club, so there wasn't a lot of like, 8 hours of sleep or anything like that happening. Um, which like is interesting because like you learn how your body and your mind can work off of like very very little rest. But yeah, I think like every day was different because like you could break it into phases. There was like the pre-competition days where you're making sure like everyone's set in the village. We still had athletes arriving. You're like greeting them, making sure they're getting settled, putting out like tiny tiny little fires, but like all the little things kind of just add up to the big things. I don't know, like figuring out bedding, figuring out blinds for the windows, like all sorts of little things that come up during the day of just getting people like settled in their accommodations. And then competition starts, and then you're like totally focusing. And that's where like Manny couldn't wait for competition to start. He was like, please let the meet be here because that's like his element. But yeah, then once competition started, we kind of had like a pretty good schedule. It's like one person would go on the very first bus, and then the next person would go maybe like an hour later. We'd just be at the track, like be there for the athletes. You get through morning session, that's like day one of the day, and then you reset, and then you go back for PM session, which is like day two within the day. So there's 2 days within every day.
Right?
Um, and then yeah, you get home at night and you decide if you want to like go to the dining hall at 11:30, go out to eat, or you want to get an extra hour of sleep and like eat a bag of trail mix. I don't know. That's kind of like a typical day.
Well, that sounds like things haven't changed much then. Manny, what would you say was the most unique situation that you could share? You don't need to give names, you can give scenarios if that's easier.
Nothing really stood out at me because we were so well prepared. Um, I mean, not just the managerial crew, but the coaching staffs, uh, the men and women staff, we were just one. It was things like we'd have a morning session, a coach would show up, get the athlete through and then take off. People don't realize that people were still training. So our coaches would then have to go to the high performance center to run people through a workout, get back to the track for the afternoon session. And to me, that was just real unique because nobody knew that yes, there were events going on, but there were other people that were going to be competing later that still needed to be coached. Or, our coach is mainly interfacing with the personal coach to make sure everything is in order. And that's one of the things I think that the federation did well. You alluded, Sue, that this started because personal coaches weren't being treated very well in 2016. I remember that very clearly. We've evolved, and all the personal coaches now had a room and they had a stipend. And I think that was a big, huge factor in why our athletes performed well. Unique stuff, nothing really special because just the preparation. We had a year to prepare and we did use it, even though we couldn't announce everything. We were working hard behind the scenes. The thing that made it a little difficult was just not totally having all the information from the local organizing committee. That Danielle says I go into meet mode. That drove me nuts because we didn't actually get the call times and things like that till 2 days before the actual meet started. And I was in the TIC, or well, in the village TIC every day asking for it. French people are very different. They said, we'll get it to you. And to them, 2 days before was more than enough time. I was just an overzealous American wanting the information, but I also had 120 athletes wanting to know stuff and coaches. Um, but I can honestly say that our staff was amazing. Nobody saw how hard they worked on TV. All they saw was winning another medal. I didn't even realize how good it was until I finally got back to California and was literally hitting balls on the driving range and went, my God, that was unbelievable.
Right.
It took like 10 days because like Danielle says, it's just, we got through the first session, these many people advanced. Who are in the finals tonight? Do we have to have the parade or the medal stand uniforms ready? The other thing that I just kind of want to point out to show how great the staff was, those of you that are there, I don't know if you realize we had one uniform for the prelims and another uniform for the finals.
Yes.
That finals uniform wasn't given to them until you made the finals, which was done out of my room because I was with the uniform guy. That was just a whole nother layer. We had to get that right. And
Wait. What? They
Yes.
had, when they went through team processing, they tried everything on, right?
right,
Okay, and it wasn't up, I know relays have to look alike, but it wasn't up to the athletes what they could wear? Which
they had a
competition?
prelim uniform, and then it was up to Nike. Nike tells us what to do. And so if you remember, the finals uniforms were like a bluish, reddish looking uniform. The
Yeah.
prelims looked different.
Oh,
So we could not give a finals uniform out until they made it so that somebody didn't run in a finals uniform in a prelim.
That's
oh
right.
my goodness.
And that just was a whole nother layer of uniqueness that we had to be aware of. And we had to make sure that when they checked out of the village for a final, that they had the finals uniform along with their medal stand uniform, along with the other more important things like your credential, your shoes, and everything else.
Right, right. Well, Latanya, what was, or tell about this checking, and maybe it's a Danielle question. Who was checking the uniforms and the bags before they got on the bus?
Oh, Danielle, I'll let you
Is
do
that a Danielle question? Okay.
Yeah, so like within our group of managers, which there's four of us, so like Manny and I were the head managers, but then there's also Tim and Demetria were also working, and we just kind of consider ourselves all the same, regardless of title. It doesn't really matter. Um, but yeah, typically like Dimitri and Tim would take turns doing what we call like the checkout process. And we start that at youth, like at under 20 meets. So once the idea is once our athletes have made an Olympic team, they've gone through this process. So when they leave the village, they're checked head to toe. they make sure that they have their uniform, their spikes, their credentials, so that when you show up at the track, you're not jumping back on a bus to, go back to the village to get something that you forgot. So yeah, from that sense, they're getting checked head to toe. There's little nuances with Paris. Athletes didn't have to stay in the village, so there was like an option. They could stay in an Airbnb, they could stay in a hotel offsite. Some of those athletes still came to the village to check out and kind of like use our transportation, but they also had the option. They could send a photo of like, this is all my stuff, this is my head to toe check. But yeah, that's kind of like our safety to make sure they at least leave with everything. And then there's that final check when they're going right in the call room, just to ensure like the credentials in their hand. They have all their belongings with them when they go in that last door when we can't really get to them anymore.
Right. Well, I remember, was it Budapest where Joe Kovacs didn't bring his medal outfit,
I
and
think that was Oregon.
That was
So
Eugene.
Oregon, and he
yeah, there is like a little nuance with like the medal stand. So when they have the medal ceremony the same night as their final, so like I finish my race and then I need to go right onto the medal stand, like there's a little superstition, like some athletes aren't comfortable carrying their big like medal stand outfit down into the call room with them. Like you kind of want to like earn that first and then go get your medal stand. So we did definitely like a lot of running medal stand outfits down to the meeting area. Yeah, lots of that. I mean, that's not new to me. I feel like I've done that a lot, but that was kind of just one thing, or borrowing people's shoes to make sure that someone had the right shoes on the medal stand, like whatever it took to get them in the right outfit on the medal stand in that moment.
so I thought shoes were up to the athlete. They weren't.
Not at the Olympics.
No.
Yeah, so it is a little different depending on like what meet you're at.
So on the victory stand, they had to have the Nike shoes, the Nike presentation outfit, or whatever they called it. And the thing that's interesting is what happens if an athlete doesn't have that, Manny? I think you've been through this a few times.
You get a very nasty phone call from the USOPC.
Yep.
It can be threatening. They threaten to fine you. And it can be anything, just a little side note. People kind of know this now, but if you remember the 100-meter award ceremony, Fred had a pair of sunglasses on, and those are a no-no. And we all got scolded. Not too bad. It was only in the vice principal's office, not the principal's office for that one. So we were okay. The other thing that I wanted to point out when Danielle was talking about the uniforms and Latanya, on top of all of those checks and balances, Danielle was in charge of one bag and I had another bag. They were about 55-pound bags that we rolled every session, morning and afternoon, back and forth to make sure we had every possible uniform. Remember, there's a lot of combinations of uniforms, sprinters, throwers, distance runners. We had it all just in case it got torn when they put the number on, just in case at the last second it didn't look good for social media. We had a men's bag, we had a women's bag, then we had another bag, so it was actually 3 bags of the finals uniforms as well. So
Wow.
we had those all there, hauled them back and forth every single day, both sessions, and y'all watched it. Nobody had a uniform problem, so that worked out very well.
See, this is the behind the scenes stuff that I think goes unaware. The athletes might be aware of it, but they get caught up, and rightly so, in their competition. But this is the behind the scenes type things that are that affect the performances too. Stanley, what would you say was a negative though? We're all talking all the positives. Did you have a rough experience on anything?
I didn't have any rough experiences. You just, when you're going through it, you may not agree with stuff, but that doesn't make it a negative experience. And I think anytime you're willing to turn anything into a positive, you're gonna work well. The biggest thing that I would say is just when you're working with others, others may have different opinions, but for the good of what we're trying to accomplish, it's all good. And as coaches, as a staff, as everyone, when you're dealing with the personal coaches and their opinions and everything else, you just learn how to deal with people. And I think that was one of the biggest advantages that I think both the staffs had is just we learned how to deal with people. Anything that came up, we dealt with it. And so it wasn't negative. It was just opportunities to help everyone grow.
Excellent, excellent. Latanya, how about you?
Well, I have a perspective of being a part of now 3 Olympic teams, 2016, where one, we had the Zika virus.
Yeah.
And all of the preparation for, if you will, the Zika virus and, vaccines and all of the things. And then in 2020, we still call that 2020, even though it was held in 21, but the 2020 games, oh my God, we had COVID.
Yeah.
So I think just having all of that, knowing that the athletes needed to be taken care of, along with the personal coaches, and we really had many of the same staff members going through that process. So there was a part of us not having to reinvent the wheel. I've worked with Danielle before. Manny, I feel like, has trained me. Stanley and I, we are brothers and sisters, just from another mother, evidently, because we have worked together. We were even as head coaches together at the World Championships. So when you go to these different championships, there always is something new, not necessarily that it has to be negative, but even if it is, it's bring it on, because the main thing needs to be the main thing. And so I would wholeheartedly agree with Stanley that you make every situation be a learning deal, and you resolve any issues so that athlete will have the best opportunity. And I think also when you know where everyone kind of stands, there's the agents and they have their agenda. And then you have the coaches, the personal coaches, and they have their agenda. And then, of course, you have the athlete and they have their agenda as well. And once you recognize and meet people where they are, you can do this job very well.
Right. No, I mean, that's the one thing with the continuity of staff and, sometimes continuity of athletes, and you learn who's got a short fuse and who doesn't and that type of thing. Well, coaches, do you have a questions here? Our audience. Should I start the call out the way Brooks would call you out and say, okay, ask a question? No, you're all in good, you understood, or you have all this, nothing's new, nothing's questionable at the moment. Well, let me ask then, Stanley, how do you feel were the personal coaches, did they have passes every day to the training track, or was that limited based on the competition?
Well, I didn't so much deal with that. I think Mike Nusa did from USA Track and Field.
Oh, okay.
He did an excellent job. Every personal coach was able to get where they needed to be when they needed to be there. And so from that perspective, there wasn't any issues there. But again, when you're just dealing with people and working with people, you pay attention to what you have to, you help people out and get through their situations and you go from there. But there wasn't anything that I first saw or anything else like that would have enabled a personal coach from being with their athletes and helping their athletes out.
Okay, because like in 2021 or whatever we want to call it, the personal coaches did not get credentials to the meet, meaning the Olympics, until the day the athlete competed. Was that the same in Paris?
Yeah, there were a coach could not just have a random credential and go anytime, any place. They would only be able to go into the stadium and get a credential when their athlete was competing. And so
Okay.
that's
Yeah,
pretty much.
so
But they also had, I mean, there were some times that we had to hustle, and just hustling to get tickets into the stadium and or seating. The security was it was fierce in France. And I would say that the security was pretty tight in Tokyo just as well. But when you don't have anyone in the stands, you there's something to figure out. Um, and the credentialing, there was a special COVID credentialing in Tokyo. So many personal coaches were not even able to go to the Olympic Games, which it made it be as a event coach. And for me, I was the sprints and hurdles. For it to be an event coach, then I had to do a lot because the athletes, a personal coach wasn't there. This time around, we didn't have to do as much because we had the personal coaches. They were there. But there was one thing I don't want this space because my little brain might
no,
forget.
say it while you got it.
So it was Mouse. Mouse, of course, you guys know he's at Florida, but he at one of the last races, he actually put out a chair in front of the screen in the warm-up area. And if you know, you know. That was Brooks.
Yeah.
He would sit and watch the track meet, if you will, in the warm-up area. All the hoo-ha about being in the stadium, that wasn't his thing. And he seemed to always commission me to get him his can of Coke or bottle of Coca-Cola. That was my job, to take care of the sprinters and get him a Coke. So there you go.
To get Mouse a Coke?
No, to get Brooks a Coke.
Oh, to get Brooks a Coke. Oh my
So
goodness. Well, I saw the chair. I thought that was in Eugene, but that was in Paris.
it was in Eugene, and it went on to Paris.
Okay, cool. That, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's a thing because that's what people need to realize is when you go on these trips and you're part of the official delegation, if you will, and sometimes the personal coaches too, you're not in the stadium. You're
right.
at a practice of the warm-up track, I should say, which is what, maybe a quarter to a half a mile away. Uh,
Almost.
is it longer even?
Well, it was just long for us because of how many times we had to go back and forth, back and
Well,
forth, back and
true,
forth.
true. You're going back and forth, and you watch it on a little, what, did they have a big screen TV or did they have a little
Yes, they had a large screen, and what was funny about that, these are the little things. This is where they didn't have a screen at all before, so we couldn't even watch the meet in
Oh,
general. Yeah, in the warm-up area, and that part was odd. They days later they were able to get a screen in the warm-up area, and I'm very sure it was because the United States had to kind of bark about that. What I think that our staff did, and maybe looking at what you guys saw at home, was the duck just floating on the pond real smooth. But trust and believe, we were scrambling trying to make some things happen. And so if you saw that it was smooth, if you saw that you were entertained, then the staff, we did our job, guys. We did our job.
right. No, and it's clearly obvious that you did, but that's what I think, the days of the coaches sitting up in the stands and just watching it evolve. In my experience, 92 was the last time that happened. And from then on it was you watch TV or you watch the meet from a little screen TV.
Yeah.
Definitely. We've got a question here from Blaze Moore, who's driving, he says, but he said, would they only be able to get a credential, I guess the personal coaches, the day of the event, meaning the race? So like if you have a hurdler, when would the personal coach get his or her pass if you had a 400 hurdler?
For that day. It
The
was
day of the rounds.
yes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
was it the same thing like in Tokyo that if your athlete did not make it to the next round, you didn't get a pass either?
Well, you can get a pass on the plane and go home. No.
Exactly. Exactly. If the athlete did not make the semifinals or the finals, personal coach, you're back at the hotel.
Mhm.
The personal coach credential at the Olympics is so tight that you only get it when your athlete is physically competing, unless they've changed it.
Yeah. It was
Now,
it that's something unique. I think also what was is unique this season for the Olympic Games. I'm not sure if they're going to continue it, but also the head coaches. We also were responsible for servicing our event area. So Stanley, he had his distance crew because that is his expertise, whereas I was the sprints, and that, that's my expertise.
mhm,
That's quite different. We would normally have a head coach, and you would also have the event coach.
right. Yeah, they've cut back, which will be one of our next questions here. Andy, what would you like to ask?
Good evening. Hello, Stanley, Manny, Latanya, Danielle. Great job in Paris. It from watching it on TV, everything seemed to be humming along the way it was supposed to. I had two questions. One, the distance relationship between the stadium and the Olympic Village. I mean, sometimes, it can be a long bus ride from one to the other, especially, sometimes traffic patterns and whatnot. So, what was the relative, convenience getting to the stadium from the village and the practice track to the stadium? And the other thing is, what was the consensus on the repertoire rounds that were added this year to some of the events? If you didn't advance in the prelim, you got another shot.
Let's Danielle, how about the travel times?
Yeah, well, I think what helped us is because like track and field was the in the later part of competition. I did hear like there were some logistics, like swimming was before us and they had trouble with the buses getting lost and maybe not quite making a 10-minute drive, a 30-minute drive and whatnot. But yeah, by the time that track and field started, it was pretty good logistically. Getting to and from the stadium was really only like a 10-minute bus ride, probably like the shortest bus ride to and from the stadium for like any competition I've worked before. That part was very nice. Um, and then I guess like from like the warm up track to the call room, is that kind of what your other question was? That was
Yeah.
also, yeah, also not far. I didn't work Doha, but I heard like it was like a bit further of a walk. Or in Tokyo, we had a gathering point where you met to walk down to the call room. So nothing like that. Like logistically, I think those things were pretty good, especially once like the transportation piece got worked out and a 10-minute drive was actually a 10-minute drive. We didn't have too much issues getting from the village to the track.
Then who wants to tackle this whatever? I couldn't even say it.
Repechage.
Okay.
You. Second chance.
So second chance, the Freddie Crittenden rule. Anybody have thoughts on that from the staff?
Stanley, what do you think?
I think for the athletes, for those that wanted the second chance, took advantage of it. And for those that didn't like it, some of them didn't show up for it.
True.
From
Yeah.
countries that I saw. But you know, it gave every athlete at least two opportunities to advance, you know. And I think from that perspective, it was good. We were fortunate. Majority of our, I don't remember how many of our athletes were in the rounds exactly, but it wasn't that many. And that's just goes to show the focus and everything that our athletes had. But, you know, it's an opportunity for them to compete again. It was an opportunity for them to try and make the final. You take advantage of every opportunity you get.
Yeah.
How about the fact field event people didn't get a repertoire system? Do we care about these poor field event people? That's a whole nother topic. Moving on. Okay. Um,
I
now,
mean, I think like logistically though, like I know Manny, Tim, Dimitri, and I talked a lot about the repechage rounds before, like heading into the games, just because it adds a whole other layer to our schedule as well. I don't, while we did have athletes that, had to run in the repechage round that maybe took advantage of it to advance to the next round. Like, I don't think that was like made necessarily for our athletes in mind. But there were no mornings off. Like it was like extra rounds, extra checkouts at the village, extra like waiting to see if someone qualified. So then you could send out the time schedule for the next day. And if we had to have people in the repechage round, that means you have to send medical staff. You have to like, so if people were going to practice, coaches had to manage, are they going to go to the meet for the repechage round? Are they going to go to practice? So like logistically, it was definitely something we talked a lot about, just because it did add extra to the meet schedule.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was the thing on TV. They would say it was more of a spectator. I mean, obviously it was for the athletes, but I mean, the spectators didn't have as much dead space between
Mhm.
events. But then, like you're saying, for the behind the scenes, all the extra work and just the whole logistics that it caused the team, the staff, was an extra burden on you, and I think I forget what the percentage was. Does anybody remember what of the athletes that really advanced? And like I say, Freddie's the one that I remembered, but I don't know if really that many athletes took advantage of it to make the finals. Like Stanley said, toward the end there with the 4x4, a lot of athletes weren't even showing up for it because they were, in relays. And so they weren't going to do a double thing that way. So interesting. Well, Latanya mentioned about a cut in the staff. And that is somewhat interesting as USOPC claims that they have to have more credentials or that we aren't getting enough credentials from the IOC, the International Olympic Committee. And then USATF claims they need more staff people there. So that's some of our credentials. And of course, we're saying, what about the personal coaches who blood, sweat, and tears got the athletes there? And then the staff members, as you can see, have a full-time job above and beyond. I mean, a full-time job. So what are some thoughts as to what level should be getting the credentials? Where is the most efficient use of these credentials if they're going to be limited?
Well, really, I mean, everyone that you've listed, need some credential. You need the USATF staff to have credential, and be efficient about those folks, there, making sure that that everyone has a role, and that will help in terms of credentialing. But also you have to have the personal coaches. And when I say staff, I'm also thinking about like our medical,
Yeah.
like it's everyone that you have mentioned, including our medical. We need to have some representation there. And there are some things behind the scenes. If you say, well, we're not going to have as many um, um, team coaches there, then who's going to take care of every athlete and making sure that they're dotting I's and crossing T's? Because that happens. Who's going to be there to look in their bag and make sure that their number is there, that they don't have any electronics and all the things, right? Getting them on and off the bus. We saw a mishap with another country where the communication wasn't there for them to get, in security or what have through security. But like you need those representatives to do that job. I would say that every morning, well, we were there every morning and we were there all the way late. And the little in between, we have a couple of hours to do some things. For me, I'm a whole collegiate coach. So, I'm still working and I'm able to work because we were on a different time schedule. So things, I'm still trying to get things going. And you got to realize that every one of those, whether they were at medical or if they were coaches, everybody has a job on top of that. And so even leaving and having to be a part of the relay, just as head coaches, we left well earlier than the team actually had to be there. So that's a lot of time off on your job as well.
Right. Marcia, what would you like to ask or contribute?
Question. I don't have anything to contribute. Latanya and I guess Stanley, you talking about the personal coaches that these athletes has, and then the USA track and field sports medicine professionals are there. Are there accommodations made for these? I know a lot of world-class athletes are going to have their own medical professionals that travel with them, massage therapists or chiropractors or what have you, or physical therapists. Where do they fit into that giant pool of, I need a credential?
I feel like the goal is for the athlete to perform at their very best. And anyone that touched that athlete needs a credential to help that athlete. So that's kind of how I would summarize it. If they have their medical people that are helping, their personal medical people, that's what's needed, because the comfort level that those athletes need to have in order to go perform their best is the ultimate goal. And so those credentials are needed. Those athletes respect every position. They respect, Danielle, that checks their things going out on the track. They're manning everyone that will help that athlete feel more comfortable, that has anything to do with this, helping that athlete be successful. Those are the credentials that we need. And we need to put our athletes first and think about the need of the athlete and help them to achieve their goals.
So where does the challenge get of making sure that you get enough credentials? Because I think that had come up in a couple of other meetings before where maybe some private coaches or individual coaches weren't getting credentialed. And that's why I asked the question, because I don't know.
No, it's very much
like a political thing, right?
It's IOC, I believe. Do you guys feel any differently?
I don't think our staff was the ones to determine who gets it and who doesn't.
No.
Our goal was to just help the athlete to be their best.
Yeah, no, it's above everybody's pay grade. And Manny, how much did you get paid to do this job? Manny?
So thank you for asking that question. People were shocked. The USOPC was shocked when they found out that our staff is all volunteer.
We are all
volunteer.
Yeah.
Other sports, they're paid. So
Really?
when we were working, Danielle and I were working, hauling things, moving things, and the USOPC was helping us. That came up one time, and the guy literally stopped and says, "You guys are working for free?" And we said, "Yeah." And I'd like to point out something that, again, behind the scenes that you didn't know, our two head coaches are incredibly humble about this, but we didn't have any coaches in the village. We had two women's coaches that we were able to do. But going back to what you said, Sue, about the USOPC and the IOC and the local organizing committee, we did not have enough beds for our coaching staff. So our head coaches were not there. I know nobody knew that because we didn't publicize that. But these coaches, all of them, every morning they were there. One of them to be a checkout, then they'd get on the bus, they'd go to the morning session, then a lot of times they'd head off to the HBC, come back to the village, which they were not staying at, made sure everybody was taken care of, back on the bus, back to the track, and then late at night, walk back to their hotel from the track to do it all over again the next day. So we had no head coach. We were the only team, 34 medals, 14 goals, that did not have their head coaches in the village. We didn't also have our staff in the village, meaning the USATF staff. They gave up beds. So we had our team leader, which was Aretha Thurman, was not in the village. And to her credit, she was there every single morning, every single afternoon. Nobody knew that because that's not what we do. But I guarantee you, swimming was in the village, volleyball was in the village, their coaches, not track and field. So, and that was our choice to take care of the athletes, to what Stanley and Latanya have said, athletes first. We had to make sure our medical was in there. So Stanley, Latanya, our coaches gave up their spots to make sure our medical was in there, which we needed many times at 2 and 3 in the morning. So I want people to know how valuable our staff was in doing stuff like that people didn't know about.
Do you guys still do evaluations afterwards?
Yes.
Yeah.
And did you clarify all of this in detail?
I did.
Yeah.
Very detailed, because I'm retiring, so I said whatever I wanted.
I think, and again, some of you on the call go to the national annual meeting and some of you don't, and I think the biggest thing, it's nice about I don't, you're not really a martyr, but just bite the bullet and do these things. But I think it needs to be said that for not having enough beds in the village, that is ridiculous. And for you guys to have to be traveling all that time cuts down on your efficiency because you're so tired. So, I mean, in a way, the athletes do get affected. That needs to be, that's an interesting, did they explain where our beds went?
No, that wasn't, we understood the assignment. Once it was said what's going to happen, then we knew what work we needed to get done. And not to sound like a martyr or anything like that.
No,
that wasn't what
efficiency.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying it was just a matter of we kept the main thing, and that was to get medals by any means necessary. I think that the entire staff went in knowing, and medical, everyone included. I believe everyone came in with the service mentality. I just believe that we knew, and then again, also this continuity relationships that we have. Even with our medical team. Gosh, you can't go wrong when you have Dustin a part of the equation. You can't go wrong when you have, the doctors that we have and the dietitian Alicia. Like you can't really go wrong with those folks. They understand the assignment and they do this. And so even for you guys as coaches, if you are looking to be a part of the equation, the time is now. The time is now putting your name in the hat. The time is now for you to do whatever servicing that you want to do with USA Track and Field. It starts with going to the annual meeting and seeing the spaces where you can make a difference, make it better, however that may be. But the time is now.
Yeah.
The time is now.
And this year is the end of the quadrennium. Every 4 years, of course, there's a turnover. So committees are turning over, officers are turning over. Hopefully in your associations, there's turnover. So yeah, this is not something you just go to, well, in this case, Orlando and sit there, but hopefully you're doing something on the local level also, even if you are a college, high school coach, that there's still something locally that can be done too. So, we get that question a lot. How do I get picked, or how can I get picked, or the same people go? Well, they're doing the work, and that's the thing too, is volunteering. As long as I've been involved in this thing, which has been over 50 some years, I I get t-shirts and I get sweatsuits and I get tickets to a airplane, but I pay my own passport. You guys all had to get your own passports. We don't get paid, a penny. And in
But that,
'04, I even asked Craig Masback, who was our CEO, if I could get an extra t-shirt, and he said no. So it's definitely not for fame, glory, and finances. Manny, did you have a question still?
No, I wanted to share this because
Yeah.
I really appreciate the behind the scenes stuff that you're asking. And I'm going to share this story with Danielle will relate to this. This is what it's like being an Olympic manager. When I went to Paris, I was caught up in that Delta mess. So I had to
Oh,
take 2 red eyes to get there. And when I finally got to the village, I got a call from Danielle, and she says, "Hey Manny, are you here?" And I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Hey, we're going to the HPC in 30 minutes. You need to, drop your stuff off, and we're going. And by the way, Snoop Dogg's going to be there." And Danielle and I have worked together a long time, and we joke. I said, "Yeah, right, sure." So we go to the HPC, we have lunch, we do our work there, and Snoop Dogg, he does show up, and we take some pictures. We get back on the bus, we get back to the village. We know, and people don't know that this has to happen, but we had to build 16 beds for our throwers because the cardboard beds were not going to work for them. So we literally had to build 16 beds with mattresses and everything for our throwers, which we had a lot of fun doing. We finished at 2:30 in the morning, went to the dining hall to get a piece of pizza to just put some food in our body, to be up the next morning at 7 o'clock because the team was coming in. Those 16 beds that we built led to, I think, a total of 5 or 6 medals. And so it was well worth it. I never slept in one of those beds, but that's what you do. And when people think that you're sitting at the finish line or something, you're not.
no.
You're literally, I tell people that story and they think I'm lying. I said, "You're not building beds. Just look at Ryan Krauser and know that he was not going to fit in a cardboard bed." And every one of those athletes that we built the bed for were so thankful, so grateful. It was great. It was, staying up that late and building beds, and then seeing these folks on the podium, worth it. Would do it again in a heartbeat.
Now, what were the beds made of? The thrower beds?
They were real beds.
Full beds.
Yeah.
Oh, they weren't cardboard, they were wood?
No. We
Mhm.
ordered them. We built them. We had electric screwdrivers, real mattresses,
Oh.
all that stuff.
Did the other event athletes get upset?
No, because we got them toppers. We got bed toppers for them,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
they were fine.
And was the village air conditioned?
We had air conditioned, but we had air conditioning units in our like Team USA. I keep calling them dorm rooms because it's really like
Well, that's what they are.
they
Yeah.
are. But yeah, in our rooms we had the air conditioning units, and we ended up getting the mattress toppers like a couple days in, just by, I think, like Manny, Tim, Dimitri, and I were like having dinner at 11 o'clock one night in the dining hall and mentioned to Yoso PC that it would be nice if we could have maybe some cushion on the bed. And the next day we had 80 to 100 mattress toppers delivered and then got those out to the athletes. But I think like kind of like when people ask me, like a lot of people are like, "Oh, like what did you do at the Olympics?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. That's a really weird question to answer." Because like I don't know, what did I do? Like I delivered a mattress topper, I installed curtains, I made a bed. Like I don't, but I think like the little things really matter. Like all the little interactions that any staff member had, like those are things that equal medals. And like what Manny said about the athletes appreciating it, like, yeah, we don't get paid, but like those athletes, they weren't entitled to those things. Like they said thank you. They were appreciative. Like, and you could see the like the direct result of your work. So like those little relationships that you made, like Manny didn't tell his little adventure of getting a luggage for one of our athletes when they almost got like hijacked in a cab on the side of the road. But like all like those little interactions, it's like, okay, that was 6 hours of my life that I spent like solving a problem for an athlete. But for the rest of this meet, if that athlete needs something, they're gonna come and they're gonna ask me and they're gonna know that I'll be there.
Right.
So I think like all of our staff, like every little thing mattered that everyone did from the minute that our athletes landed in Paris.
Excellent. Do any of you have any questions yet here? Okay, I'm going to do a Brooks here. David Burnett, what are you taking away from this?
Sue, I don't know if you can hear me. I lost my voice.
Oh, I can hear you.
Okay. Um, yeah, I just like all the little anecdotes and the stories that they tell because it's all stuff that we don't know. And Latanya kind of answered my question of how we are able as coaches that want to get involved, how we do get involved. Um, I'm sure I could look this up, but Latanya, when is the annual meeting going to be for USA Track and Field?
December.
Going to be at the ending of November.
No,
So,
December 5th through the 8th.
yeah, now it is. Oh, okay, you're right, you're right. So December 1, if you will.
No, 5th,
Oh, it's the 5th, and is it the 5th through the 8th?
8th
Okay, yeah. So
in Orlando.
right, and I believe registration is open now, so you can go on to USATF.org and look into the annual meeting, and it'll go through the registration. I do believe that they are holding a block of rooms, and so once you have made your confirmation and paid, you have a updated membership and all of that, then it will confirm that you're able to come, and that's when you can get or confirm a room through that room block. And you would
Okay.
want
The USATF convention is right before, the week before the USTCCF, whatever, the alphabet, the Coaches Association. And it
Yes.
is also in Orlando. So you don't need two airline tickets. You can make one airline ticket. Now, staying in Orlando, that is on you. But I think that's something that hopefully, I don't know, I keep hoping that somehow we could get USATF and the Coaches Association to be
Yes.
friends again. If there's any way of doing that, whoever can, facilitate that, please. Because, looking at the audience here, most of you are college of some sort or some level coaches. And, you go to the coaches convention, I think because the school pays for one convention a year, maybe, or something like that. And then you say, well, why am I not getting picked for a USA team? Well, nobody knows you if you're not making yourself visible to both audiences. So again, it's one of those things here. Let's see, Mike Thomas, you've been on the whole time. What would you like to contribute? Mike Thomas. Okay, he's an invisible man. Josh Fulton. Do you have any questions, comments?
So can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So sitting back and listening to the staff this year and going back and remembering listening to Coach Holloway talk about his experiences on the staff, you kind of see a trend, right? You see uh, servant leaders in positions that uh, give up so much of themselves in order for Team USA to be as successful as it is. And I think that one, that is incredible. We need more of that in both associations, whether it's the coaches or USATF in general. But those are the things that you look for. And I'm just, again, even giving up their time tonight to talk to us and kind of give us that experience and the behind the scene things that we don't get to know or ever get to experience. It's tremendous for me because I do want to one day work for a team. Um, and this is a step in the right direction. And again, thank you, all of you guys, for taking the time to be here tonight.
Yeah, one more example of being servants because there was no hesitation. Like I say, Coach Edwine changed a meeting to be here. So,
Right.
That goes to show you what kind of people we have in our leadership. Jordan Rodriguez, you've been here for the whole time. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's really cool to hear the behind the scenes, and I didn't even know there was managers. So, which I love all the stories, and for me, like lately, there's been a lot on my plate. When you're a college coach, stuff happens, and then
Oh yeah,
more gets on your plate. So just hearing that, like all these little things that all four did, five did, whoever was else was on the team, like it just was like enough. So like I always want to try to do the most I can, and you always have that little voice in your head at you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, is this enough? Am I doing enough? And just so hearing that is kind of like echoing back, like, yeah, like it stacks up and people do appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys obviously like taking time out of your day to come talk to us all. And it's inspiring and just hearing it and just the behind the scenes. I don't know, like never thought about it. So, but taking away a lot and just hearing good things. So
great.
take it back with me tomorrow.
So can I?
Allison. Oh, go ahead, LaTanya.
So in terms of the coaches, I think that also was a benefit for all of us that being a coach at a university or just being a coach and maybe even at a junior college, whatever, like just coaching and having to manage people totally worked. Totally worked. I mean, that is kind of an asset that you have because you're able to juggle and you're able to meet people at their need and you're able to communicate and all of those tools that you need for your team, your personal team to be successful is really some of those things that you need to just do this job. Also, the benefit is that you're able to be around elite athletes, but mainly their coaches. So you see a person warming up, but the coach on the side, maybe even potentially giving cues to the warm up. It was really something special to watch Dennis Mitchell and his crew of athletes. And I want to say he had about, I don't know, 5 or 6 athletes that were Americans at least, and what they do in their warm up. And first, how they even start their warm up, which I related to because I do a little bit of that. But nonetheless, you can have those type of conversations, and that also elevates you just as a coach. You may know, oh yeah, I know what this particular drill is, or I understand this particular concept, but it is a confirmation that you're doing or you're at least on the right track. Then you get a chance to watch poetry in motion.
Yeah.
Watching Cole Hawker do Cole Hawker was so inspiring. But at the same time, nobody's checking for, if you will, Melissa Jefferson, who did very well in the Olympic trials in the 100 meters and got a medal for us in the 100 meters. That's historic within itself. And just those things. And not to mention, we always talk about the runners, But oh my geez, we have an American that got a medal not only in the long jump, but also the triple jump. And so we're not applauding those things in the manner, but when you see it within your own eyes, you go back home. I honestly, I felt sorry for Long Beach State athletes.
Too much expectation now. Get there. Well, that's what Brooks always said. Coach to the world record, coach to the gold medals.
Yes, yes.
So, Manny, you have a question or comment? You're on mute. You're on mute.
That's what happens when you're still not technically challenged. I wanted to take a minute to thank you, Sue, for doing this, but I also wanted to reach out to all you coaches that took the time.
Wait, you're on mute again. Something happened.
Sorry. Got to get a new laptop. No, I want to thank all the coaches for listening, but it wasn't lost on me when I've been on 3 Olympic staffs now that every one of these athletes started somewhere, whether it was an age group coach, a high school coach, they graduated to a college coach. None of these people get to where they were without you folks. And from our Olympic staff, we're the top of the pinnacle, but we're not there if it's not for the work that, again, a lot of people are doing. Our country does it right. We are not government funded. We are all volunteer fundraising, and the work that all of you do, it's not lost on me when I'm in a foreign country wearing this USA stuff. I know that somewhere along the line, these great athletes, they started somewhere, whether it was the AAU Junior Olympic program, a high school coach finding them in the hallway. It's inspiring, to say the least. So from our Olympic staff to you folks that are on this call and your colleagues, take it out to them when we're done and say, hey, we heard from these folks, but they know the hard work that we put in. And I just want to take a minute to say thank you. It was an honor to represent all of you. 3 times I've done it, and it's never been lost on me on all the work that goes into this at the grassroots level. So thanks a lot. It was an honor to serve all of you.
Thank you. Let's get another Allison. I think you got to unmute there. Nope, I screwed you up there. Go again. Unmute.
Hello. So as soon as we get done with this meeting, I'm going to go send a thank you note to the Masters managers. You guys work amazingly hard, and I'm sure they do too.
Yeah.
So I coach high school track, and high school track is the most participated in sport, or track and field is the most participated sport by high school students, likely also by college students. And I would really like us to have some sort of a business model where there's funding for track and field. And especially, I mean, the volunteer work you guys do is incredibly admirable, but I would love to be able to see you be compensated for this incredible hard work that you're doing. And so with a sport like this that so many children and teenagers and college students participate in, it would be nice to be able to have some sort of funding source. And I don't know exactly what that model would be, that would continue to fund all the way through the elite level. And that would be our volunteers, our managers, our coaches, but also our athletes that struggle to participate because of funding. So, but yeah, thank you, Sue, for having this and enlightening me to all of this information.
Yes, it's the big world, definitely. Allison is a masters athlete and a world champion high jumper, of course. So she has seen it from being a competitive athlete to a high school coach and then competing herself. Bazemore, what's your comment here that you put in?
I can't remember, Coach, who said that when she was saying something about she got a chance to watch, say, like Coach Miles or Dennis Mitchell when he was talking to the girls.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry, Coach Latanya. Coach Holloway literally did this at Albuquerque. I'm trying to remember who was Coach Ford was there, Kentucky's coach was there. It was like 10 of them, and all of a sudden, Coach Tanya Bailey, she said something about how one of the guys was making a start because I just happened to be standing behind Noah Lyles and his coach, and all 10 of them sat down. He said, "Hey, come here, Bazemore, go grab those blocks," kind of like Brooks would. So, and I ran and grabbed the blocks for him, set it up, and next thing you know, we are like 20 of us are all standing there watching this kid come out and a start. And he was talking about, okay, if his femur is this long, you do this. If his trunk is this long, you do this. If his tibia, fibia this long. But literally, it turned into a like a seminar. And I'm recording me like a silly rabbit. I didn't record, but I was recording something else. I'm like, why did I not record this?
Wow, yeah. Well, that's a thing that, and Coach Holloway is going to be on these calls as he can, because Wednesday night, those of you that follow, what is it, Athletics LLC, they record on Wednesday nights. But he promised me that he would be active with us also as he gets back into his routine from the summer. I think he had an athlete do fairly well this summer. No. No, but Grace Stark did well too, so we got to give her credit, not just Grant. But let's see, Alvin, you've been on here the whole time. What are your takeaways?
Hi, Sue. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I am elated to be back involved with PACA, and I'm one of those little fair-headed boys of Brooks that he has poured into. And to a lot of those of you that know me, after what we've done this past year with PACA, this past year at the high school level, we developed 3 All-Americans. Miles has one of them. The University of Maryland has one and had one to return. The kid I coached in the half mile, he went 153.24 at Adidas Nationals, placing second. And I owe it to this great coaching and sharing in this forum. And I am excited. My kids are not only doing well, but they're getting recruited. But I know that when I say that, I got to give thanks to all of you guys, because you guys keep pouring in to coaches like myself. This is extremely valuable. And I would hope that coaches on here would just tell everybody, you need to join this PACA meeting and take this back. And Miss LaTanya, I just sent you a message because I would like to come out and carry a clipboard and add some of those Dennis Mitchell points that you picked up and take them back and work on some of that stuff. And hopefully in 2028, I will be sitting down and with some of my athletes there in Los Angeles, coaching and having fun.
Great. Well, we're going to try to get Dennis on. It's been fun to see how many PACA PACA alumni have been, with these elite level coaches and so forth. And, the Dennis Mitchells have been on, the Quincy Watts have been on, Joanna Hayes has been on, and we can go down the list pretty much. I'm not sure that we've missed. Lance Browman has been on, Mouse, of course, has been on. So, we've been very fortunate, and all that's because Brooks called and told them they were on. So we'll see how things work. But that's part of it too, is that the top people, all you seem to really have to do is ask. And so many of them will be cooperative and to help you as need
Yes.
be. And that's something I think we lose sometimes. It's kind of like the cheerleader that doesn't get asked to the prom because everybody thinks she's going to go with the quarterback, and as a result, she sits at home. But in closing here, let's see, is there a topic or a person that you would like to hear from here as we work ahead? Do you have any suggestions or ideas based on events or summer participation? We've heard Cole Hawker and his coach. Katie, did you have any luck in reaching or finding out the coach? You're on mute. Oh,
Sorry. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to do that this week.
okay. And I know VJ, you said Patty Sue's going to help.
Yeah, my dad reached out to, trying to remember the other people that we had brought up.
BYU.
Yeah, he reached out to the BYU staff, and then also some of his colleagues for like a return from injury call.
Yes.
And let me see, what was the other one?
we had a lot of people saying distance. Is that pretty much what you're thinking at this time of the year, or do
Yeah,
you
he
think
also reached out to the Wake Forest head coach for
that
distance.
John?
Hayes, yeah, he's been on here before.
Okay, he used to be at Texas, so I know him.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you guys have ideas, please email me, text me, whatever's easiest for you, so that we can track them down and get enough advance notice with that. In closing, let's get some final words here from our guests today. Coach Redwine, how would you or what would you say in closing was your Olympic experience?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. This has been a great evening. So I'm always excited to give back for what was given to me. So I would say my greatest experience again, I will always cherish our staff. I will always, when I saw Danielle, Manning, or Tanya, I just kind of lit up inside. And it's just that relationship and those relationships that just fire you up and keep you going. And Andy, keep doing what you're doing. Thanks for what you do too. So, yeah.
Great. LaTanya, how about you?
Well, first I want to say to Alvin, I sent you my information. That's me. So there you go. Well, thank you, Sue. Sue, you have been so instrumental in my professional growth as a coach, and definitely have taken me under your wing and helped me with different perspectives of how even USA Track and Field works and operates. And I would say to you all that if you have questions about USATF, then Sue is definitely the person that can help guide you and put you in in the directions that you want to go. Thank you all for just listening and listening in this manner. We have oftentimes have the people ask us to speak and but never behind the scenes. And that's really where you learn your chops. You not always do you find the best things at the mountaintop, but sometimes you just find them in the valleys. And so just being a part of USA Track and Field has grown me as a person, starting first as an athlete. So thank you guys for just listening to the behind the scenes. And I implore onto you to get involved, to be the next, to check it out. It starts with going to the annual meeting. It's going to be from December the 5th through the 8th. Find your space, find your way, and you just never know. Just never know.
Never know. Danielle, how would you like to leave us?
Yeah, I mean, I think like when Stanley was first talking, he said that like this is about people. And so I think like that's how all of us kind of went into it, and the relationships that you build, whether it's with the athletes or our staff, that's kind of like the last impression when you settle and look back, you just think of the people. But like I am a coach, like most people on this call, and like after a hard race, like I always ask my athletes, like, how do you feel? And if the answer is tired and proud, then those are two good things. And I felt like I walked away from the Olympics and I was really tired, but I was really proud. So I think that that means like a job well done.
Excellent, excellent. And Alvin, Danielle coaches at Maryland, so she might know your kid that's there.
Yeah, is it Roman Spikes? Is that your kid?
Is that who it is, Roman?
Yes,
Got
it's
him.
Roman Spikes.
So
He's a twin.
She's
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
after.
we'll take good care of them.
Outstanding. Well, Danielle, I got to get your information. I've got Coach Lynn Smith, but I don't have yours. I got to see you well, you're right here. You're 15 miles from me. I love it.
You can go check it all out there. Yeah. Lynn Smith is at Maryland now?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, okay. Tell him hi.
I will.
Mandy, You bringing home anchor leg.
Okay. Usually that's Latanya's job, but no, again, just to reiterate what Stanley said, just working with our staff, the people, knowing that we were representing a whole country and a whole set of people that we wanted to do the best we could. I would also encourage all of you on this call to keep doing what you're doing. It makes a big difference. Sometimes you don't feel that way when you're out in the rain or you're moving hurdles in bad weather. You make a difference. You were part of our success, and I just can't say how much I want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, and dream big. Dream about possibly being on a USA staff. But if you want to be on a USA staff, just remember that it takes time, and be patient. You can't show up to the annual meeting and get put on a staff. It's a long process, but in the end, there is nothing better than again wearing one of these USA shirts. Now you can get more than one. It's a little different, but I've done a number of national teams, and every morning that, like we talked about in Paris, I still got chills putting on my USA flag that sits over our heart every single morning in the dark. I was dressing in the dark, not to wake up my roommate. Then I would get out where it was light and tuck in my shirt and everything. It was still exciting to do that after all these years. So all of you dream big, and you never know. Just never know. Because if you would have told a young me that I was going to get to do this, I would have said you're crazy. So it's a possibility. And again, Sue, thank you for inviting me. This means a lot to me.
Oh, thank you guys for everything. Jim, you're going to be you're the repertoire or whatever that word is.
First of all, thank you, coaches and staff members. I had the privilege of being a manager and a head manager on 2 youth teams, so I know what you went through. You probably have not caught up on sleep yet, and I just thank you for sharing your knowledge. The other thing that I question is how do we save all the knowledge that everybody on this call has in some accessible form? I know, excuse me, now we're going to be able to record, but I mean, just Sue, you've forgotten so much high jump stuff that people won't know. How do we capture that? That may I don't know. That's the Gordian, and I'll leave it that.
That's what we're trying to do. And like I say, get with the technology now. And I don't know if we'll ever shake loose the stuff from the past, but we can start now and move forward and have the same people on and, move it that way. So that's part of my goal as we move forward. And that was one of the last things I asked Brooks is, what did he want me to do? And to keep this going was part of the answer. So that's what I'm going to do. And Betsy, thank you for joining us. I got a little apprehensive when that Sutrack came on. I was like, okay, because that's Brooks's logo. And I was like, okay, he's calling in already. So you're welcome anytime and all the time, definitely. So again, everybody have a good weekend, and let me know of topics, let me know of people, and I will get on it. So have a good night. Thank you guys, everybody. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Night.